بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us with at-tawheed, and we've been studying about this for the last few weeks, about exactly what is tawheed, its categories, its types, its examples, its pillars, its conditions. We've been speaking about that for some time now. And one thing we need to understand, to really understand tawheed, is the opposite of tawheed. To understand what is pure, you need to understand what is impurity. Otherwise, you will think you are pure while you are impure. You will think you are on tawheed when in fact you are on shirk. So we need to understand the shirk in order to understand the tawheed. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he said to the new generations that were rising in Islam in his time, he said, what I fear from you, because you grew up in Islam, you never knew Jahiliyyah. So I fear that you're going to fall into the shirk without even realizing. Okay, because the Sahaba, they knew the Jahiliyyah, they knew the kufr, they knew the shirk, because they used to believe in it, they used to worship other than Allah. So that when the tawheed came, they could see the clear difference between the two paths. So they knew what they were leaving and what they were taking up. So they had the complete principle of at-takhliya qabla at-tahliya. Okay. We're going to be talking about today types of shirk. But you see, in order to have tawheed, you need to have at-takhliya qabla at-tahliya. Okay? That is to give up before you take up. Okay? You to drill this principle into your mind. It should be so familiar to you, you understand. Always, at-takhliya qabla at-tahliya. You give up before you take up. Okay? You give up before you take up. Okay? If you are junub, you're impure, what do you have to do? You need to clean yourself first. Get rid of the impurity. Then you become pure. You cannot just be in impurity while you still have some remnants of impurity left with you. You need to remove the impurity. If you want to become muwahhid on the tawheed, you need to give up the shirk. First you need to give up the shirk. You cannot just say, I believe in Allah, but you still have in your heart the love for the idols, your worship for the taghut. You believe that the idols are the daughters of Allah and Jesus is the son of Allah, and you still go to the church on Sundays to drink the blood of Jesus and eat the body of Jesus. What kind of tawheed exactly did you adopt? It's not enough just to say, I believe. What do you believe? What did you give up? So before you take up tawheed, you need to give up the shirk. Before you take up iman, you need to give up the kufr. Before you start to be a practicing Muslim, you need to give up the sins. Otherwise you're not really practicing. Some people, they think, I'm a practicing Muslim. I don't pray, but I'm practicing Muslim. What exactly are you practicing if you don't pray? He still drinks, he still eats pork, but he's practicing Muslim. It's not practicing Muslim. Many kuffar, they'll say to you, I've got lots of friends, they're Muslims, they're practicing, but they eat pork, they vote in the elections, they do this, they do that, they got a girlfriend. So why? So you're an extremist. They don't understand. What they're describing is not a practicing Muslim, because that person did not give up the sins before taking up the good deeds. Okay? So before you can claim to have the tawheed, you need to give up the shirk. And when you have remnants of jahiliyyah in your heart or in your character, okay, that will affect you when you are going forward in your own practicing Islam. Okay? That's why when you still have some jahiliyyah, it will come out sometimes as well. And it will affect you. That's why many people, they complain about some youth, when they start practicing Islam, When they start practicing Islam, they complain that those youth, they have bad character, for example. Maybe they use some bad words, they swear. Maybe some of them, they still shave. Maybe some of them, they still listen to music. Okay? They still have some bad traits. All that time when they were not practicing, they didn't care about that. Now when they start to practice, they pick up on these little nitpicking on these points. Instead to say to them, look, well done, you've started to come out, now get rid of these problems as well, they start to say, your Islam is wrong, you shouldn't be practicing because you're bad. Because you did this, you do that. This is the wrong way to look at it. Okay? Though it is correct to say that if we now want to practice Islam, we need to give up our old ideas, our old habits, our old behavior. We need to give it up. Okay? You want to come to the da'wah stall fresh, without to have anything from before. That's why the example of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, when he argued with Bilal. Okay? When he argued with Bilal. And they became angry, so he said to him that you're the son of a black woman, or a black slave. Bilal, he complained to Rasulullah, said, I'm going to complain to Rasulullah. So he went to the messenger. And when Muhammad heard that and saw that, he came out, he was angry, face was red with anger at Abu Dharr. And he said, you still have some jahiliyyah in you, Abu Dharr. Do you still have this ignorance in you, Abu Dharr? Immediately Abu Dharr, he put his face on the floor and said to Bilal, put your black feet on my face because I am below you today. Immediately he gave it up. Okay, so, but that can happen to anybody. If that can happen to a companion, to a sahabi, you're thinking what happened to us? We will have some mistakes and uyub, defects that we need to correct ourselves all the time. Always be purifying ourselves, correcting ourselves. Okay? So yes, somebody went to the jihad, gave up all of his life for the sake of the jihad. It could be that he had some mistakes from his own history that he's taking with him as well. That's why, yes, sometimes you'll have these arguments you see arguments on Twitter, and both sides mujahideen, but both sides are youth. They only started practicing recently. And now they're doing the greatest deeds, but they have some flaws from before. That doesn't mean that jihad is wrong. It means that those mistakes, those bad character that they picked up from their life, living up in the Western way of life, Western culture, growing up in the Western schools. Of course, when you grow up in these schools, you learn to cuss each other, to insult each other, and everybody wants to defeat the other. One person insults you, you insult them back harder. That's the culture in the West. That is the Western culture. So when the people go to jihad and they still have that parts of that in their own heart. So when somebody calls them a name, they call them back another name. He calls him, you are, IS fanboy, you say you are JN fanboy. You are this, you are that. This is wrong. It's not allowed in Islam, not correct to have these nicknames and name calling with each other. So you need to have at-takhliya qabla at-tahliyah. But for great reason, this is just even in the smallest matters. What about the greatest matter of all? Tawheed and the shirk. So in order to really achieve the tawheed, you need to give up first the shirk. In order to believe in Allah, you need to give up the taghut. That's why we say, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ. Whoever gave up the taghut, whoever rejected the taghut, had kufr in the taghut, and then believed in Allah. At-takhliya qabla at-tahliyah. He gave up all gods before taking up belief in Allah alone, making that exception. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha, we give up all aliha. Anything that could be worshipped, followed, obeyed, we give it up. There is nothing at all. La ilaha illallah. The only exception we make is the one we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So before taking up belief in iman, we have kufr and taghut. Before claiming the tawheed, we give up the shirk. So therefore we need to know what is shirk. Okay? We need to know what is shirk. And we need to appreciate that if we don't know what the shirk is, we could fall into the shirk out of our own ignorance. Look to the ayah about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam said in Surah 14 verse 35, he said, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ جَعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. He said, oh my Lord, Ibrahim said, oh my Lord, make this city secure for me and save me and my children from worshipping idols. Okay, this is 14 verse 35. So if the Nabi of Tawheed, Ibrahim alayhi salam, the one who is infallible, and Allah has protected him from the shirk, and his children, who are who? Ishaq and Ismail, 2 Nabis, also infallible. If they can be afraid that what if I become mushrik after my iman? Out of ignorance, without realizing it. What if something changes in me? Do you think any of us are safe from the shirk? We're not safe. Nobody feels safe from the shirk except for the mushrik. The mushrikeen, they think, yeah, we're the ones on haqq. We're on the truth. No matter how much you tell him, but look, you're worshipping idols. Yes, so what? Look, you're worshipping the MP. It's a no big deal. For the maslahah. They're convinced that they are on the tawheed. They have no fear at all. But the one who fears the shirk is only the muwahhid. The muwahhid is the one who's afraid. What if he falls into the shirk? The munafiq, he's not afraid of the nifaq, the hypocrisy. The hypocrite, he doesn't think he's a hypocrite at all. But the believer, the sincere one, the mukhlis, he's always afraid, what if I'm munafiq without to realize? What if I was a hypocrite and I didn't realize? So it's always on guard. So we need to be on guard from the shirk. So what is the shirk? Considering that we know what the tawheed is, what do we think the shirk is? Who can have a go at defining for us shirk? Don't worry, I won't tell you off if you're wrong. Who can have a go, inshallah? Doesn't need to be jami' ma'ani, just general definition or explanation of what you understand to be the shirk. The opposite of tawheed, yes. Something a bit more specific, inshallah.
Worshipping others beside Allah.
Worshipping others beside Allah, okay.
The association with Allah in any of His rights.
That's very good, very good. Yes, excellent. So to associate with Allah in any of His rights. Okay? In any of His rights. And what is His rights? His right to rububiyyah, uluhiyyah, asma' wa sifat, and even throw in there as well hakimiyyah. Why not? Or you can say hakimiyyah is part of uluhiyyah. Either way, we're happy, inshallah. We're not going to argue over that. So, this means the shirk, okay, to associate partners in Allah in any of His rights. That could be in rububiyyah, could be in uluhiyyah, okay, or ilahiyyah, or it could be asma' wa sifat. Okay, so let me make this, I prefer ilahiyyah anyway, so we use ilahiyyah. Okay, so in His right to be Lord, His right to be worshipped. Just to reiterate it, I'm going to put in here obeyed, that's part of being worshipped. Okay. And His right to His names and attributes. Okay? So there could be shirk. الشرك في ربوبية وفي ربوبيته أو في إلهيته أو في أسمائه وصفاته. So the shirk could be in His right to be the Lord, in His functions, in His that, in His own, oneness Himself. That somebody claims that there is a second God. Okay, like you see the Greeks, they have hundreds of gods and they have a whole story behind it as well. This one married that one and had this son and he was superhuman strength, and that one threw a lightning bolt at the other one and he became electrified or something. No, this crazy stories they have. They claim, they're all gods. There's loads of them. Okay, claiming there's more than one Lord. That is shirk in the rububiyyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Claiming that there's more than one creator. He created the heaven and He created the earth. What are you talking about? What are they talking about? So when they claim that there's a second creator, or they attribute the creation to other than Allah. Okay? Ar-Rububiyyah, the Rabb, is the one who created you, the one who provides for you, the one who manages your affairs. So somebody claims that actually no, it's got nothing to do with God. It's Mother Nature, chance, evolution. They created us. Another one says that it's not God that manages all of our affairs. It's just accidents, coincidences. Or somebody says, or it's luck. It's a lady luck, and it's got this. They make these special things to serve their own lady luck. Put her horseshoe there and horseshoe. This is why it's quite dangerous. Okay, some of the ideas are very dangerous. In principle. Or you could have shirk in his ilahiyah, in our actions towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So somebody offers the sacrifice to other than Allah. They start to slaughter their animals in the name of an idol, or in the name of Ali, like the Shia, the Rafida, they slaughter in the name of Ali, or they slaughter in the name of Krishna or whatever. Anything else, or they make sujood to an idol, or a tree, or a person, or a priest, or they make intercession. Instead to make dua to Allah, oh Allah forgive me, they say to the priest, oh priest forgive me. This intercession, this middleman, they say to the graves, okay, you forgive me, forgive my sins, take me to Jannah. This type of thing is shirk in ilahiyah, because his own actions. Or they obey the laws of other than Allah. They implement the laws of other than Allah. They seek judgments in the laws of other than Allah. Allah gave you the perfect laws. You say, no, I don't need those. I want the imperfect laws. Let that be the one who judges in my disputes. So this is shirk al-ilahiyah. Or the shirk in the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They start to make Allah like the creation. They start to say that human being is like Allah. Or that is Allah. Okay? Or claim that Allah has attributes similar to the creation. Or the names of Allah, they give it to somebody else. They say that the king he is, Al-Hakam Al-Adl, the legislator. Or the attributes of Allah. Sifat. So not every attribute, is a name. But every name can be an attribute. Okay, but not every attribute itself is a name. But the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, for example, we say Allah, He is Al-Ahad. This is His name. And His attribute. Okay, Al-Ahad, the one who's one, unique, alone. Okay, we say Al-Fard. It means Al-Ahad. Okay, Ifrad, you make exclusivity. He's the exclusive one. So you can say Allah is Al-Fard As-Samad, for example. Al-Fard is not His name, it's His attribute. Similarly, He is Al-Musharri', Al-Mukallif. He is the one who legislates. Because Allah says, أَمْ لَهُمْ شُرَكَاء شَرَعُوا لَهُمْ مِنَ الدِّينِ مَا لَمْ يَأْذَنْ بِهِ اللَّهُ. So do they have partners with Allah that legislate for them without permission from Allah? So Allah is the legislator and He has no partners in it. You can say Allah is Al-Mukallif. He's the one who makes you responsible, accountable because of His laws. He said this is illegal, this is legal. If you do this, you'll be punished. If you do that, you'll be rewarded. That is Allah's role, nobody else's role. He said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not make taklif, make you mukallaf. He doesn't make you accountable except in what is within your means. So nobody else can have this attribute. Nobody else can say, this is the law. If you do it, you're punished. If you don't do it, you're not punished. Nobody else can say, we are legislators. Those are the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when people they start to give the names and attributes to other than Allah, they make shirk in asma' wa sifat. Okay, they make shirk in the asma' wa sifat. This is all really partly introduction, but I can give you some of the references for these verses, inshallah. I should do that for you, inshallah. But we've discussed this before anyway, so I don't want to dwell too much on this. What I want to talk about is the two types of shirk in relation to, what happens to his own iman. What happens to the iman of the person who commits this type of shirk. And there are two types. Okay? So the shirk in relation to your iman and what happens to you, or the impact or the severity of it, is two types. Okay? Either shirk akbar or shirk asghar. Okay, can you read that? Let me put that on. Okay. Shirk akbar or shirk asghar. So this is major shirk, and this is minor shirk. Okay. Ibn Abbas, he said what? الشرك شركان أكبر وأصغر. الشرك الكفر كفران. Okay, the shirk is two types, greater and minor. The kufr is two types, greater and minor. Okay, with all of them. الظلم ظلمان. The oppression is two types, greater and minor. الفسق فسقان. The sin is two types, greater and minor, أكبر وأصغر. Okay, or you can call this one shirk أصغر. You can also call it shirk دون shirk. Okay. Meaning less than, the shirk. In other words, is less than that shirk. So two types of shirk. One, the major shirk, and the other, which is less than that. Okay, which is less than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ma'idah verse 72, Surah 5 verse 72, لقد كفر الذين قالوا إن الله هو المسيح ابن مريم وقال المسيح يا بني إسرائيل اعبدوا الله ربي وربكم إنه من يشرك بالله فقد حرم الله عليه الجنة ومأواه النار وما للظالمين من أنصار. He said, they've disbelieved those who say Allah is Jesus or the Messiah, son of Mary. And the Messiah, meaning Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, said, O children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. Because whoever associates partners with Allah, whoever commits shirk in Allah, Allah will forbid upon him the paradise, Jannah. And his place, final abode will be hellfire. Okay, permanent residence will be in hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the oppressor will never have any helpers. Your question? Reference. 572. Okay, so this is 572. Okay, for Shirk Akbar, the first verse we mentioned, inshallah, 572. Okay. So this is Shirk al-Akbar, al-Dhulm al-Akbar, the greater oppression. Okay, the greatest oppression is what? Shirk. Allah said in this what? وَمَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ مِنْ أَنصَارٍ. The oppressors will never have any supporter. Allah talking about here the shirk. وَمَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ, the one who commits shirk in Allah. They are the oppressors. So not every dhulm is less. Like people, they talk about the verse, whoever does not rule but what Allah revealed, they are al-zalimun, the oppressors. Who told you that means he's Muslim? Who told you that? It's ruled by Jews. The Jews are oppressors and they're Christians and they're kuffar. Okay? They're mushrik. The greatest dhulm is the shirk. So this ayah is talking about the greater shirk that will take a person out of the fold of Islam and forbid upon them the paradise and make the hellfire binding upon them, and they will have no support or help. They will be from Ahlun Nar, the people of hellfire. Okay? So, and I'm going to mention some of the specific points about the differences between the two in a minute, inshallah, but just to introduce these points to you. So, some examples of this. Okay? So, some examples of this type of Shirk Akbar include, okay, to say Allah is Jesus, as mentioned in this ayah. Okay? Or to say he has a son. Okay? To say that he has a son. Okay? Or daughter. Okay? Okay? So he has a son or daughter. To supplicate. To graves. Okay, this is Shirk Akbar. Okay? To worship idols, or we could say even more than this. We could say even to fear other than Allah. To love other than Allah. For their own sake. Not for the sake of Allah. Yeah, these are some examples we give. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yunus verse 13, okay. He says, one second, inshallah. Verse 13. He said, وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا الْقُرُونَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَمَّا ظَلَمُوا وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُهُم بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَمَا كَانُوا لِيُؤْمِنُوا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الْقَوْمَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. He said, and we destroyed many generations before you, okay, when they oppressed after the messengers came to them with clear proofs, but they refused to believe. And that's how we punish the criminals, the polytheists. And he says as well, in Surah 4 verse 48, Surah 4 verse 48, إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ افْتَرَى إِثْمًا عَظِيمًا. He said, verily Allah does not forgive the shirk, but He forgives anything less than that for whoever He wishes. And whoever associates partners with Allah, makes shirk in Allah, they have invented an enormous lie. Okay, an enormous lie or enormous sin. You know, by that. So, the shirk is the greatest of all sins. The greatest of all crimes is the shirk in Allah subhanahu. Because Allah said, He does not forgive shirk, but anything less than the shirk, He may forgive. But there's nothing greater than the shirk. Also in Surah Hajj verse 31, Surah 22 verse 31. Surah 22 verse 31, Allah subhanahu says, حنفاء لله غير مشركين به وَمَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَكَأَنَّمَا خَرَّ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَتَحْطَفُهُ الطَّيْرُ أَوْ تَهْوِي بِهِ الرِّيحُ فِي مَكَانٍ سَحِيقٍ. He says, being true to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and never associating partners with Him, never being mushrik in Him, because if anybody associates partners with Allah, it is as if he has fallen from the heaven and been snatched by the birds, or the wind has taken and thrown him into a distant place. Okay, this is in Surah Hajj, verse 31. Okay. The second time, Shirk al-Asghar. Shirk al-Asghar. This is different from the Shirk Akbar. The main most important thing, it's not the only difference, but the main important difference between Shirk al-Akbar and Shirk al-Asghar is that Shirk Akbar will take you out of the fold of Islam. Okay? You say, يُخْرُجُ مِنَ الْمِلَّةِ, will take you out of the millah of Islam, the fold of Islam. So you'll no longer be Muslim. You'll be considered to be outside of the camp of Islam, in the camp of the kuffar, because you committed Shirk Akbar. That's why it's so serious. Because that Shirk Akbar means you are not Muslim. If you used to be Muslim, you're not Muslim. If you didn't used to be Muslim, you're still not Muslim. Okay? Until you give up the Shirk Akbar, only then you can become Muslim. Okay, that's why people, they argue, some people, they argue about those people who vote. Okay? The debate is, they say, are they apostates or kafir asli? Were they originally kafir? Because they say, look, if they really knew Tawheed, they would never have voted. You say, no, this is I don't know if it's giving them the benefit of the doubt or not, really, to be honest with you. But I believe no. People, they read the Shahada, they know that Allah is the only legislator. They know it. Even from the fitrah, they know it. And they declare the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. What does that mean? It means that there's no legislator except for Allah. When they go to the election after that, they are fully accountable. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. Unless somebody deceived them and they thought they were voting for some, employee of the month or something, when in fact they were voting for a legislator. This is an exception. But somebody knows what they're talking about, knows what this is a legislator, and I'm choosing a legislator instead of Allah. This person's got no excuse. And he is committing Shirk Akbar, will take him out of the fold of Islam. Shirk Asghar does not take you out of the fold of Islam. Okay, does not take you out of the fold of Islam. That is the main difference between these two. It is not the only difference. Okay, so Shirk Asghar is shirk in Allah, so associating partners with Allah in some form or another, but does not take you out of the fold of Islam. As far as the laws of the Sharia is concerned, as the way the people will view you in this life, in the dunya is concerned, it will not make you a disbeliever in Islam. I mean, it will not make you somebody who's no longer called a Muslim, who's no longer treated as a Muslim. You'll be treated as a Muslim like anybody else. Yes.
Will it be treated as will it be weighed as a dream?
It could be, depends on the circumstances. Okay, it depends on the circumstances. Okay, so there are some types of shirk which does not take you out of the fold of Islam, and they are called the lesser shirk, the lesser forms of the shirk. And this is the difference between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the Khawarij. The Khawarij, they make takfir on both types of shirk. They will say that any type of shirk or any type of kufr will make you disbeliever, whether that was a major sin or it was, shirk akbar or kufr akbar. They treat them all the same. Whereas Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah differentiate between what takes you out of the fold of Islam and what does not take you out of the fold of Islam. Okay? These are the two different types. Hadith in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Okay, in Musnad Imam Ahmad, the Prophet ﷺ said, the matter I fear most for my ummah is a shirk al-asghar, is the lesser shirk. Okay, the lesser shirk. And they asked, what is the lesser shirk? Okay, so the matter which I fear most for my ummah is a shirk al-asghar, the lesser or the minor shirk. They asked, what is the minor shirk? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Riya, showing off. Showing off. So this is one type of shirk al-asghar. It's not the only one, but it's one of the types of shirk al-asghar, and one which is most commonly referred to when we talk about it as well, because the Prophet ﷺ labeled it, named it, as shirk al-asghar, as al-riya, showing off. So this is one type of shirk al-asghar. Okay. Showing off. So what is showing off? What is riya? Riya is when you mix in your intention to please the people, not just to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So somebody, he could say, look, I'm not worshipping the people, I'm worshipping Allah, and I want to please Allah. However, he also wants the people to be impressed by him, the people to be proud of him, or to look up to him, or to give him good reputation. I mean, he doesn't have the ikhlasun niyyah, that sincere intention. The sincerity of the intention is not there. The intention to be completely sincere means he completely omits and excludes everything from his intention, only wants to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't care who calls him khawarij, who calls him jahil, who calls him kafir, who calls him anything. He doesn't care. He does this sincerely only for the sake of Allah, to please him, in accordance with Allah, what Allah revealed as well, in obedience to Allah. Okay? There's nothing called, by the way, sincerity in bad deeds. What are you talking about? You're trying to please Allah by disobeying Him? You can't please Allah by angering Him. Allah told you, do this, I'll be pleased with you. Do that, and I'll be angry with you. So He said, let me do what angers Allah, but for His sake sincere. That's not called sincerity. Sincerity is when you target only the pleasure of Allah exclusively in any matter of obedience to Allah. Because there's no such thing as a sincere bad deed. You do a bad deed because you want to do it, not because Allah wants you to do it. Allah does not. If Allah wanted you to do it, He would have told you. He would have permitted it for you. He forbade it because He does not want you to. Okay. So that is called ar-riya, to show off, to do the deeds or the ritual acts for the sake of the people's pleasure. And that could be for anything. It could be, the most common one, the example the Prophet ﷺ said, that a man will elongate his salah and perfect his salah because people were watching, because people entered. Okay? Somebody at home, he prays, and recites, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. He stands to pray in the masjid and he's about to say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Somebody enters the room, the corner of his eye. He says, okay. Alif Lam Mim. Suddenly it becomes Surah Baqarah. Just to show, just so you know, I'm Hafiz. Just so you know. Maybe he wants to impress his father-in-law or future father-in-law, prospective father-in-law. Maybe just in case he has a daughter he might want to give in marriage, I better show him how good my salah recitation is as well. Okay? Some people, I remember even there's sometimes when you go to visit relatives, Bangladesh, there's always somebody like this. They hardly pray a day in the year. When you're there, and you know that you have a sister with a British passport, prospective, wife for him, so he thinks, okay, I pray 5 times a day now in the masjid, in Jama'ah, wherever he's with you, he's praying with you now as well. Always. So you see, there's some people like that. They're not really doing it sincerely for the sake of Allah. They're doing it for another intention, for another reason, to impress somebody, to show somebody. Or he goes to Hajj. His Hajj is what? Why does he go to Hajj? Hajj is there for you want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fulfill your fard. No, he goes to Hajj. Why? Because you can't get married nowadays unless you're Hajji. Some countries, very hard to find a wife because they want the best husband for their daughter at the end of the day. So they have a checklist. Okay, you have a business. Okay, you have a house. You have a house. Okay, yeah, you've been to Hajj. Okay, but he's been to Hajj. Let me go to him instead of you. So I said, let me go to Hajj. You need to add to my CV. Somebody could do it for that wrong reason, for the wrong intention. Okay, or they give money generously for the people to say. This is why the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the first people to be accounted on the Day of Judgment. The first people to be accounted on the Day of Judgment. There'll be 3. Okay. It's going to be a mujahid in the way of Allah, a fighter. It's going to be a scholar and reciter. And it's going to be a generous man who used to donate. Okay, I'm summarizing the hadith for you, just so you understand what the riyah is. Okay, but basically each one he asked, I gave you many blessings in your life, what did you do with it? The first will say, I fought in your way and I died shaheed for your sake. He said, you lied. You fought and you died for the people to say you were brave, mujahid, fighter, for the people to give you good reputation. And you always going to go to hellfire. The scholar said, I studied the deen and I recited Quran and taught the people the Quran for your sake. You said, you lied. You did that for the people to say you're knowledgeable. To say that you are Hayat Kibar al-Ulama, the great committee of scholars. And they said it about you, so they throw him in hellfire. And the generous man will say, I spent from my wealth and donated generously. He said, no, you lied. You did that for the people to say you're generous. And they said it. So the one who did it for these wrong reasons, they have a riyah. And this is shirk al-asghar, the lesser shirk. Especially because it's a matter of the heart. Nobody sees your intention. Nobody knows. Nobody can say, this man is showing off, I call him kafir. It's not possible. Because you can't see inside his heart. You can't see inside his heart. Okay? So the shirk asghar is, something the ummah will face. And the ikhlas, the sincerity to really achieve it is something so difficult, so hard. You need to account yourself all the time. Okay? You need to account yourself all the time. Okay? Other examples of this type of riyah or mixing the intention, some people they lead the salah for a salary. Okay? They lead the prayer in order to get a salary, money. Okay? As if the salah wasn't fard upon him in the first place. It's not correct. You can't take money to lead the salah. If you take money to clean the masjid, no problem. You take money to teach the people some Quran, to read Arabic, it's fine, it's no problem. But the salah is fard upon you. Why do you need to be paid to pay the salah in the first place? It's your duty, it's your own ibadah. If you don't do it, you're sinful. What are you going to say? I'm not going to pray until you pay me. Okay? And there's some people like this. There are some people, Shaykh Umar said one time he witnessed it himself. In the salah, middle of the salah. The iqamah has been given, they're about to pray Salatul Asr. They're about to pray Salatul Asr. And he turns around and said, I'm not doing it until you pay me. You haven't paid me yet. That is completely impossible. Completely impossible. As if he wouldn't pray if he wasn't being paid for it in the first place. It's not acceptable. So you don't pray in order to receive money, okay, or a salary. You don't make dua for the sake of money. Another tactic some people they use. They have job. Their job is what? I will come on your charitable event, okay? Your charitable event is to fundraiser on the TV. This is my fee, so and so £1,000. And I'm going to go on your program. I'm going to do what exactly? I'll make dua for anybody who donates. That's their job. So-and-so donated £10. May Allah give him Jannah. May Allah give him this. May Allah give him that. So-and-so gave £100. Oh, may Allah give him 2 houses in Jannah. This type of dua for the sake of his salary is not acceptable. Your dua is ibadah. Yeah, it's not a job. It's not a career. So that's the same. Also, even the one who goes to jihad for the wrong intention. Goes to jihad seeking authority or seeking reputation or for the sake of booty or money. He goes to jihad not to make the word of Allah the highest, no, because he wants to get a share of the booty. That wrong intention would destroy his jihad. It would destroy his own ibadah. Okay? So this is all forms of shirk al-asghar. Okay, 4 forms of riyah. Another form of shirk al-asghar is, I'll give you a few examples inshallah. Swearing an oath by other than Allah. Okay, somebody says, I swear by the grave of my mother. I swear by, the shoes of my father. I swear by whatever they swear oath on. Crazy people, they make shit oath on all sorts of things nowadays. Okay, yeah, this type of thing is shirk al-asghar. Okay, because this is ta'zeem, this is elevation. Okay, so that elevation belongs only to Allah. If somebody makes it like the elevation to Allah, then it becomes shirk al-akbar. But in itself is shirk al-asghar, lesser form of shirk. Okay, so if somebody is elevated but not elevated in the way that Allah deserves to be elevated, then they have given, associate partners in this elevation because that belongs only to Allah, but they didn't make them a partner with Allah, similar to Allah, because they didn't say like, I swear by my mother, the greatest, for example. If they do that, it becomes shirk akbar. If they just said, I swear by my mother, I mean, trying to impress you, try to show you, convince you that he's telling the truth, and he says that, he's made some elevation, but that is shirk al-asghar in its origin. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, do not swear an oath except by Allah. Okay, do not swear an oath except by Allah. Okay, this is shirk asghar. Okay. Another example of shirk asghar is tasha'um. It's like pessimism. Pessimism, or always thinking negatively about something, or they see, or like atira as well. You can see atira here as well. So, oops, I've disconnected from the mic. That's a problem. Okay, you say or atira. Okay, so atira is like superstitions. You see a particular bird flying a particular way, so you say, "Oh, this is a bad omen. This is a bad sign. Okay, something bad is going to happen." Okay, or they see a black cat and they said, "Oh, this is bad luck." This type of thing is, superstition or negativity all the time is wrong, and is a form of shirk asghar. And he said, "Atira shirk." He said the tira is shirk. And normally in the text, when you see that in a hadith is mentioned shirk without the alif and the lam, is usually referring to shirk al-asghar. And the Sahaba, what they said about it is, all of us will have a share of this tira or tashahum in us. Okay, so all of us will have a share of this. Sometimes we'll have a little bit of this pessimism or negativity, and why this is wrong. Rather, we should always have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exclusively. Okay. So all these examples of shirk al-asghar. Okay, shirk al-asghar. Okay, and generally, anything which is shirk al-asghar, if it's combined with something else, it can become shirk al-akbar. Okay, it can become shirk al-akbar. So, if you swear an oath by other than Allah, and you elevate them similar to Allah, you become kafir. Like somebody says, by my mother, the highest, okay, or my mother, the greatest. I mean, giving her the attributes of Allah, elevating the same way. Or somebody with their riya, okay, the munafiqun, the hypocrites, they also have riya. But their riya is on another level, because they are not interested in worshipping Allah at all. It's purely for the sake of the people. Okay? Purely for the sake of the people. And this will take them out of the fold of Islam. It's been they're really in that time, or in their own heart they're mixing worshipping with Allah with the pleasure of a taghut, of an idol. This is also become shirk akbar. So those matters which are shirk asghar, they can become greater shirk, take them out of the fold of Islam, if it's combined with something else. And usually, the shirk asghar is something in matter of the heart, which the people cannot see. Okay, because we are people we judge with the apparent. Okay, so let's look at the difference between shirk akbar and shirk asghar. Okay. Okay, the differences between shirk akbar and shirk asghar. Okay. What is the difference between them? The first one, the most important one, we've already mentioned. Okay. Okay. Shirk akbar takes you out of the fold of Islam. Shirk asghar does not. Okay, does not take you out of the fold. Okay, so this is the first thing. Shirk al-akbar, like tahakum to the taghut. Okay, when a man took his judgment to the taghut of Ka'b bin Ashraf, Allah declared him a kafir, and the believers treated him as a kafir. And Umar al-Khattab, even when a case he saw somebody come to him, refusing to accept the hukm of Allah and the Messenger, he killed him as a kafir. And Allah testified they're not believers. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Okay, so for example, I'll give you some examples of this. Clearly, shirk akbar 460 and 465. Okay, or even you can put all of them together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ يَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Have you seen those who falsely claim to believe in what was revealed to you and revealed before you? يُرِيدُونَ أَن يَتَحَاكَمُوا إِلَى الطَّاغُوتِ وَقَدْ أُمِرُوا أَن يَكْفُرُوا بِهِ. And they seek judgment from other than Allah, from the taghut, when they were ordered to have kufr, to reject it. The other verse he said, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Said, no, by your Lord, they are not believers حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِي مَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُم, until they make you the only judge in all of their affairs. So it takes them out of the fold of Islam, their shirk, to seek judgments, to seek the law, man-made laws, make the man-made laws the arbiter, to choose that law to be your source, or your legislator or legislation to rule by and judge by. That will take you out of the fold of Islam. Okay. The second difference between shirk akbar and shirk asghar. In relation to hellfire. Shirk akbar will make you permanent resident. It will make you a permanent resident of hellfire. Okay? In other words, i.e. forever. If it's not clear enough for you already, forever and ever. Okay? Forever and ever. Okay? Shirk Akbar will make you enter hellfire forever. You will never come out. Okay? You will never come out. There will be no Jannah for you. You will be in hellfire forever. We already mentioned the ayah on this. Surah 5 verse 72. 72. Allah says what? Whoever commits shirk in Allah, Allah will forbid upon them paradise, and their permanent residence will be in hellfire. Okay? Permanent residence will be in hellfire. Whereas Shirk Asghar, okay, does not make you permanent residence. Okay, so it's possible Allah could punish you for a while for your Shirk Asghar, and then eventually you will be forgiven and enter into Jannah after that. Okay. Okay. Another example of this Shirk Asghar, where this could happen as well, is when somebody has Shirk al-Alfaz. I could mention this over here as well. The terms. Shirk. No? Terms. Okay, or terminology. They make some statements which are technically could imply some shirk. Okay? Now sometimes you say those terms and you don't actually believe the shirk behind it, but you said it. Like somebody says good luck, for example. That has a shirk meaning. Think about it for a moment. You're denying the qadr. You're denying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided everything already. There's nothing called luck or chance. It's already been decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or somebody says, okay, for example, I will do so and so, and they didn't say inshallah. As if they are claiming to know the ghaib. But you didn't mean that. Okay? Or somebody says, I'm going to go to the shops. He doesn't mean I know the ghaib, I'm going to go to the shops. He means I intend to go to the shops. So that's why always the Prophet said, say, don't just say, I'm going to do so and so. Say, I'm going to do so and so, inshallah. Okay? Inshallah, I mean if God wills, if Allah wills. Okay? Or even the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when a man came and he said to him, if Allah wishes and you wish, the Prophet said, are you making me a partner with Allah? Say, ma sha'Allahu wahdah. What Allah wills alone. Okay? So this is another terminology. Somebody making a mistake in their own terminology. They're saying, what Allah wishes and you wish. What they mean by that is that, I want to do what you like as well. I hope that you like what I'm doing, or I'll do whatever you order me to the Messenger of Allah, because obviously to obey him is worship, is obedience to Allah. Okay, so but he said no, don't make me partner with Allah. Allah wills alone. So the terminology as well, it can have some possible incorrect meaning, and this is not Shirk al-Alfaz, which is Shirk al-Asghar, unless it's combined with the belief in that kufr meaning. Okay, so this type of thing as well, is temporarily punished. Okay. We say, does not make you permanent resident, only temporary. Okay? Unless Allah forgives you. Allah can forgive you as well. Number 3. Another difference between Shirk al-Akbar and Shirk al-Asghar. Okay? In relation to your deeds. Okay? These are different colors, it's getting confusing. So I'll switch the color on this one each time. Okay? Shirk Akbar will nullify all your good deeds. Okay? All your good deeds will be nullified because of Shirk al-Akbar. Whereas Shirk al-Asghar nullify only that particular deed. Okay? Not all. Okay? So, for example, if you have riyā, you're showing off in your salah, that salah is ruined. Not all your salah of your whole life. But if you commit Shirk Akbar, you nullify all of your good deeds. Okay, so people when they say to you, okay, how can so-and-so scholar become kafir? Look, all his life he's been studying Islam, giving da'wah, doing good deeds, teach this person to pray and that person to pray, and he did this entire series on Tawheed and the Aqeedah of Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and he taught many people their deen, and did so many good deeds, and he gave this much in charity and sadaqah, and he did all this sacrifice for the deen of Islam. How can you call him kafir? Yeah, but when he did the Shirk Akbar, he nullified all of that. All of that's gone. All of that was finished. Does not save him at all. Or they say, look, this king, this king of Saudi Arabia, how can you call him kafir, akhi? Do you know how many million copies of the Quran, how many masahif he prints? And for free, akhi, for free. He spends everywhere, the whole earth, the whole world, everywhere, sending the masahif to their own madkhali masajid around the world to teach the people their deen and to distort the verses of Surah Ma'idah. To teach the people of Surah Ma'idah. So they want to say to you, all these good deeds, how can this man be kafir? How can he be kafir and he's building masajid all around the world? All these thousands of masajid dirar, these houses of Allah, they're building everywhere all around the world and translating the books of Kitab al-Tawheed for Shaykh Muhammad Abdul Wahhab in every single language. All, this king, the Khadim al-Haramain, the custodian of the two holy mosques, and they even giving water to the Hajjis and looking after the people who come for Hajj and accommodating for them all the time, building them clock towers and everything. So how can you call him kafir? As if the Quraysh didn't give water to the Hajjis, the mushrikeen of Quraysh. They used to give water as well. Does that mean that they're not mushrik? Does that mean that their own shirk will be nullified by giving some water, giving some charity? You think that's the case? No. All the good deeds that somebody does, they are negated and nullified and completely erased by a shirk al-akbar, but not by a shirk al-asghar. Okay? Some of the evidences for this, inshaAllah, there's a number of verses that I can give you for this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ومن يرتد منكم عن دينه فيمت وهو كافر فأولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. 2:217. Surah 2:217. Allah says, whoever apostates from his deen after his iman and he died as a kafir, then all of their deeds will be nullified in this life and the hereafter. And they will be the people of the hellfire and they will live there forever. Okay. And also 3:22, Surah Al-Imran, verse 22. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَمَا لَهُم مِّن نَاصِرِينَ. He said, they are those who all their deeds are nullified in this life and the hereafter, and they will never have anybody to help them, anybody to support them. And Surah Tawbah verse 17 is a good one as well, inshaAllah. Surah Tawbah verse 17, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ما كان للمشركين أن يعمروا مساجد الله شاهدين على أنفسهم بالكفر أولئك حبطت أعمالهم وفي النار هم خالدون. He said, it's not for the mushrikeen to make umrah. Okay? They want to do a good deed. Allah said, no, it's not for them to do umrah. Because why? Why are they going to? They are testifying to their own kufr themselves. They are the ones, all of their good deeds are nullified and they're in the hellfire forever. They're in the hellfire forever. So the mushrik, what's the point of making umrah? Okay? What's the point of them praying salah? Though it's fard upon them, they'll be accountable why they didn't pray. But you can't pray while you're still mushrik. You need to become Muslim. Condition of the salah, you need to be believer, you need to be muwahhid, Muslim. So first they need to have takhliya qabla tahliya. First give up the shirk, then worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying the salah and paying the zakat and so on. Otherwise, all that salah is going to be wasted anyway. It's going to be nullified, as if we never prayed. Okay, anyway, there's actually many verses pointing this out. This is enough, inshaAllah, for us to continue. Okay. Number 4. Okay, we'll do one more, then we'll start rubbing out. Okay. Number 4. Blood and wealth. The Shirk Akbar permits the blood and wealth. Okay? Meaning they have no sanctity for their blood and wealth anymore because of their shirk. Whereas the Shirk Asghar does not permit blood and wealth. Okay? The original rules of the mushrik is that his blood and wealth is halal. Okay? And is in relationship of war. Okay? Except if he has iman, becomes a believer, repents from the shirk, or if he has aman, if he has covenant of security. Okay? Whereas the original rules for the blood and wealth of the Muslim is that it is sanctified and protected. The evidence for this, the Prophet ﷺ said, كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. All of a Muslim to another Muslim is haram, sanctified, prohibited to spill what? دمه وماله وعرضه. His blood, his wealth, and his honor. They're sanctified. And the other hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, he said, أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله. I've been ordered to fight people until they testify that there is none worthy worship beside Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. ويقيم الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة, and they pray the salah, pay the zakat. فإن فعلوا ذلك عصموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم إلا بحق الإسلام. And if they do that, then they are sanctified from me, their blood and their wealth, except for the right of Islam. I mean, until they adopt the tawheed, the shirk, give up the shirk, until they do that, their blood and wealth is not sanctified. And when they do it, their blood is sanctified. Okay? So the Shirk Akbar, it means that his blood and wealth have no security, no sanctity anymore. Whereas the Shirk Asghar, it does not make his blood or wealth become permitted. Okay, one second. Also, Surah Tawbah verse 5, there's an evidence for this as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاقْتُلُوا الْمُشْرِكِينَ حَيْثُ وَجَدْتُمُوهُمْ وَخُذُوهُمْ وَاحْصُرُوهُمْ وَقَعُدُوا لَهُمْ كُلَّ مَرْصَدٍ. He said, fight the mushrikeen, okay, or kill the mushrikeen wherever you meet them, and wherever you find them, and trap them and lie in wait for them in every ambush. Okay? Because why? That's the original rules of the mushrikeen, unless they give them a covenant of security. Okay? Okay. Another difference between the two. Can I rub this out? Or just yeah. So number 5. Number 5. Oppression. Okay. Let's put here oppression. Yeah. Okay. So this is the greatest oppression. giving the right of Allah other than Him. Okay? So this is, the Shirk Akbar is when you take the right of Allah and you give it to somebody else. You give it to somebody else. Allah's right to be worshipped, you worship somebody else. Okay? You are somebody, Allah's right for His name and attributes, you give it to somebody else. Okay? Allah Ta'ala is the creator. To recognize Him as the creator, no, you call Allah the creation. Or you make the creation like the creator. This is when somebody, he is committing the shirk. And the greatest dhulm, in Surah Luqman verse 13. What surah number is Surah Luqman? Does anybody know? 31. 31, 13. Okay. Allah Ta'ala says, لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. Don't associate partners with Allah, because verily the shirk, it is the greatest oppression. Okay? It's the greatest oppression. And the shirk asghar, it is lesser. Lesser oppression. Okay, so somebody is worshipping Allah, but is not giving Allah his full due. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala deserves what? أَلَا لِلَّهِ الدِّينُ الْخَالِصِ. Isn't it for Allah? He has a sincere worship, only for Him. So somebody worships Allah, but like with the riyah, he worships Allah. However, he hasn't given Him, worship Him the way He deserves to be worshipped. Okay? So Allah Ta'ala said what? وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ. Fear Allah the way He deserves to be feared. So somebody fears Allah, but he also fears the people. And he fears them sometimes, that leads him to what? Run away from the battlefield, for example. That fear of the people that made him run away is shirk asghar. Okay, it's a major sin, but it doesn't make him kafir. But if we started to, out of fear of the people who commit shirk in Allah, worship them, or to pray to them, okay, this is when it becomes, shirk akbar. So the shirk asghar does not give Allah His full due. Allah deserves not only that you worship Him, but that you only target His pleasure, you don't target the pleasure of the people. So the riyah, it does not give Him His full due. Okay? Yeah, Allah deserves that He's the only one you rely on and you have hope for. So you don't have any objects that you're thinking, I'll wear this and this will help protect me. Or that I will, you look at the bad omens and you think there's something called, it says words that take away from His full measure. Okay? Like the saying good luck and things like this. So shirk asghar, it does not give Allah His full due, so it's a lesser oppression. Whereas the shirk akbar is when they are directing or combining the attributes of Allah, the names and attributes of Allah, or the right of worship to Allah, giving somebody else. Okay. What number are we on? Number 6. Forgiveness. Okay. Allah never forgives unless you repent in this life. Whereas shirk asghar, Allah may forgive whoever He wishes. Okay. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His own attributes, He is Al-Ghafir, Al-Ghafur, Al-Rahim. He is the one who forgives all sins. Ghafir al-dhunub, He is the one who forgives all sins. Okay? And that is His own attribute. And He loves to forgive your sins. But the shirk is such an enormous crime that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the forgiveness on hold for this sin. Okay? He has negated His own attribute in this matter alone, only for this sin. He said that He will never forgive the shirk akbar, okay, at all, unless you repented from it in this life. Okay? Obviously, the mushrik who embraces Islam, Islam is forgiveness for everything before, all the shirk before. But if he died upon the shirk, he will never be forgiven for that. Okay? Allah Ta'ala does not allow for that person to be forgiven if he died without to repent from his shirk. He had his chance. In Surah 4 verse 48, and also in another verse as well, 115. This is good enough, inshallah. Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ وَمَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ افْتَرَى إِثْمًا عَظِيمًا. He said, verily Allah does not forgive the shirk, but He will forgive anything less than that, including shirk, duna shirk, anything less than that, for whoever He wishes. And whoever commits shirk in Allah, he has invented an enormous sin, or committed an enormous sin. Okay. Number 7, the difference between Shirk Akbar and Shirk Asghar. Okay, in relation to Jannah. Okay. Allah forbids Jannah for the one who committed Shirk Akbar and died upon Shirk Akbar. But for Shirk Asghar, Allah does not forbid it. Okay? So the one who died upon the Shirk Akbar, Allah has forbidden the Jannah upon him. But the one who committed Shirk Asghar, that does not mean the Jannah will be prohibited for him. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah 5 verse 72, we quoted it already before. He says, إِنَّهُ مَنْ يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. He said, verily the one who commits shirk in Allah has forbidden upon him the paradise. وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ. And his abode is in the hellfire. So this is 572. Okay, 572. Okay. And number 7, or number 8, sorry, in terms of major sins, we say that Shirk Akbar is the greatest of Kaba'ir. Okay. Well, Shirk Asghar is obviously less than Shirk Akbar. Less than that. So the greatest of all Kaba'ir, it is Shirk Akbar. In Hadith al-Bukhari and Muslim, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, narrated, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, shouldn't I tell you the greatest of all Kaba'ir, Akbar al-Kaba'ir, the greatest of all major sins? They said, yes, tell us, Ya Rasulullah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Ash-shirku billah, the shirk in Allah. Okay, to commit shirk in Allah, that is the greatest of all Kaba'ir. Okay, it doesn't get worse than that in terms of crimes. Just a couple more references, by the way, about abolishing the deeds, because these are more specific, even better, inshallah, you can write them down. Surah 6 verse 88, Allah says, وَلَوْ أَشْرَكُوا لَحَبِطَ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. He said, if they commit shirk, then all of their deeds will vanish. All of the deeds will vanish. And also 39 verse 65. Surah 39 verse 65. Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. He said, it's already been revealed to you and to those before you that if you commit shirk, in Allah, then all of your deeds will be nullified, will vanish, and you'll be from the losers. Okay. So these are the main differences between these two types, Shirk Akbar and Shirk Asghar. Okay. There is more to discuss on the types of shirk. We can talk about it next time in relation to the different ways that shirk can occur. Shirk al-sarf, shirk al-ataf, shirk al-ta'til. We're going to talk about this inshallah next week. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.